you look at the development of Chelsea's team, and I watched them. Literally the only negative, other than the concern about Caicedo's injury, was Rob Sanchez nearly costing Chelsea. And I tweeted about this, right? We all know the stats about errors leading to a goal. And my point about Rob Sanchez has always been from last summer that the numbers do not pick up the errors that don't lead to goals. The stats do not pick up, well, at this moment, he almost cost Chelsea. This bit of indecision almost cost Chelsea a corner, at a set piece, a goal kick, right? Because they just don't get tallied up. Because you may have misplaced passes, but like it doesn't equate and it doesn't get shared around that much. I would be fascinated, since he signed for Chelsea, if someone could do a Y Scout expedition on like errors that almost led to a goal being conceded. And the semi-final against Fluminense was another example. This is a tight semi-final. At that point, it's still 1-0. And for some reason, he doesn't decide to come out and command his situation. And thank God Cucurella was alert to the situation. Well, that's 1-1. And we seem hell-bent on selling Georgia Petrovic. If you sell Georgia Petrovic, not fine, because I just logically think like I'd rather sell Rob Sanchez. But if you're going to sell him, you then have to replace him with somebody. And it's just, given that we're recruiting and seem so, there's no explanation for it. I still don't get it, how willing we are to part with money for certain players in key positions. But arguably the second or joint first most defining position in your team, we apparently can't go 4 or 5 million higher for someone who I think instantly walks in and instantly improves us. Other than him, my concern is I don't know where else Chelsea go in the current market. Then it becomes kind of a job of, has James Trafford signed for Newcastle yet? Because I'm still fearful that
I'm not sure.
It's a bit like the Garnacho one. They're kind of like, I'm a bit scared that that's still lingering around. Then you're kind of on a mission to find either maybe an older, experienced goalkeeper as a stopgap. It just infuriates me. It just infuriates me so much. I just don't grasp what the thinking is, because it's not an insane amount of money that AC Milan are asking for, in my opinion. Given what Chelsea have just earned from this whole tournament, given what Chelsea and Premier League clubs at the level Chelsea play at earn, just ridiculously in terms of TV money. I mean, you're not talking about, people were acting as if us signing Mike Maignan for 25 million was going to somehow bankrupt the club. I mean, just farcical thinking. So that remains, I've talked a lot there, but that remains my kind of big thing here. I think.
No, I agree.
It would kind of cement for me a very decent transfer window.
Yeah, I think a goalkeeper is the most pivotal position. I mean, selling George Petrovic to Bournemouth for £25 million, which is what it's rumoured to be, I mean, it's something which I agree with you. I think Chelsea shouldn't even be looking at that until they've got lined up the replacement. What's even more farcical is they're going, oh, well, maybe we'll keep Mike Penders as a number 2, but then we've got to figure out who's going to be going and staying. But actually, he might not stay. We're going to send him to Salzburg, but we can't send to Salzburg because we might not have enough international loan spots, which means we've got to sell Amugu or whoever, who we signed in January for no reason, basically. So then we're going to put him on. It's like this constant cycle of, lads, like, it's very simple. The overcomplications now are just like, it's sexing something up for the sake of it. It's jargon. It's management speak. That's what it is. All this is like, well, we've got to figure this out, do this. Like, no, you don't. It's very simple. Okay. You go and sign a goalkeeper that makes a difference. You sell the one which clearly isn't good enough, eye test and statistically. It just is. You're going into certain competitions, look at him and compare him, right? He is the Loris Karius of Chelsea. He is. There's no other way of saying it. He is the player which is in goal, which shouldn't be in goal, but the replacement is waiting in the wings, ready to go. Mike Penders might be the next best thing, right? So if that's the case, you do loan him out. Amugu, sorry, I don't even know why you were in the first place, mate. See you later. Done. Whatever, right? Off the back of that, You then loan him for 2-3 years whilst he gets better. He plays regular football. He becomes the beast everyone expects him to. Lo and behold, guess what? You have someone for 2 or 3 years that can make the difference. And then guess what? When they're not ready anymore, because I know Chelsea looked at Emi Martinez, for example, who, he's mid-30s, goalkeepers going until they're maybe 40 now, or at least the very late 30s. He'll be ready to sort of start slowing down. He'll move on. Guess what? Mike Penders, in you come. Chelsea's number one for the next 15, 20 years, 100 years, whatever it is. There you go. Done. Sorted. Finito. It's very, very easy. But Chelsea are making it more difficult than it needs to be because of £5 million, which is what I don't get it. I don't get it. And then people, you put it on Twitter and people are, well, he's a lot older. I'm like, he's a goalkeeper. He's proven. But he's 30 plus. Goalkeepers are a completely different breed to outfield players, and especially players of that quality.
And just very relevant on the Club World Cup semi-final that we were just talking about, we signed, and part of the fear about signing Thiago Silva back in 2020 was his age, right? But that proved to be an invaluable trait of his. I mean, he is kind of one of a kind, but having an older player is not a bad thing. It's not a negative to have leadership, to have guidance, to have maturity that can help the players around him. Like, that can't just be, it's this kind of black or white transfer strategy that has just always bewildered me, because every team needs that balance, right? Even, teams that have kind of a youth core at the center of them will still have the odd player, even in rotation, that is maybe a bit older, that has a bit more experience. I mean, Gianluigi Donnarumma is not the oldest goalkeeper for PSG, but he's been around a long period of time. The logic of, I just don't get it. I just don't get why you are risking the same scenario playing out again. Rob Sanchez, I'm not saying that Rob Sanchez has never had a good game for Chelsea. He's had some good games. He had a decent end to the season, but I can't just view him based on 5 games. I can't just view him based on some nice moments. I have to view him on the totality of what he's done since he signed for us in 2023. And I have to say, if you're doing it on percentages, the majority has not been that good. At times it has been pretty horrendous. And in the level Chelsea want to play at, those percentages can be damning, and they will cost you at the biggest time. If you're a defender of Rob Sanchez, what you're hoping is that the last block of the season is what he is now, just for the long term. The majority of the season really was kind of, I think, what Rob Sanchez really is. I don't think he is going to go to another level. I think what he is what he is. He can make some decent saves, but I've always maintained, I think at this level, I expect a keeper at Chelsea to make good saves, because that's kind of what you're there to do. He has the odd good pass in him, but I don't think it for me has never really outweighed the threat of him with the ball at his feet. And his decision making at time is just far too erratic to justify making him our biggest first choice goalkeeper. So
Agreed.
that you're going to walk into a potential scenario where Bournemouth have a better first choice keeper than Chelsea, and that just again, like last season, it just cannot go, because it in so many ways it undermines everything around Chelsea. It undermines Maresca, it undermines the players, it undermines the project. Right, every time you watch him make a mistake, it makes the whole situation look like a farce, and everyone will turn around all the time, and I think justifiably so, will turn around and go, you have spent this amount of money and that is your goalkeeper. When we had a scenario, it's not me plucking out a dream transfer here. I'm not sitting here and going, go and throw 100 million at Alisson at Liverpool, go and throw 150 million for Ederson. I'm not saying any of that. Chelsea clearly went after Mike Maignan. They clearly went after him for a reason. They clearly got into negotiations. So what that tells me is that at the very least there was a suggestion or an intent to sign someone new, and there's someone new there who clearly also wants to join the club. I think he made it very clear. One of the things that was consistent throughout all that reporting about Maignan in June was he wants to join Chelsea.
Yeah, and that categorically is the case. So we'll have to see what happens with all of that, and also be keeping tabs on all of it. But the goalkeeper position is something which is so key for Chelsea, as is, I think, left back cover. I think those are two things. So, should money be spent, I think that's where it needs to be.